Christopher Cantwell, also known as the crying Nazi, if you may remember, he's defending himself in court now as he and 23 other white supremacists are being sued by victims from that 2017 Unite the Right rally out in Charlottesville, Virginia, where he took part in. Now, before we get into the people that are helping him with this solo man defense plan that he has, first off, let's get into why this guy has to defend himself in the first place. So let's go straight into this from BuzzFeed News. So Mr. Cantwell has rendered attorneys' continued representation of him unreasonably difficult, has created a conflict of interest between himself and attorneys' other clients, and has engaged in conduct attorneys consider repugnant or imprudent, which is what two of his former attorneys, is how they put it before they dropped him. So now he's got to do it on his own because everyone is working with him is like, I'm tired of this guy. So where is this coming from now? What is his new legal help? Who is he listening to? How is he getting this information? A man who spent 5 months with Cantwell in the same unit in a medium-sized security prison in Marion, Illinois, said Cantwell was inspired and emboldened by the polarizing messages emanating from Fox News. Oh, surprising. Specifically, Tucker Carlson, even more surprising. In a filing in the Charlottesville lawsuit, Cantwell specifically cites Carlson as someone with whom he shares many views. That's weird. Jarrett Williams Smith also told BuzzFeed News here in a phone interview that a group of white supremacists had banded together behind bars. They learned about what was happening outside the prison walls and the political messaging of the day from the far-right outlet, again, Fox News and specifically Tucker Carlson. So after, quote, the whites, as Smith called the group, they finished their legal work for the day. The group would regularly go to a television room in the prison to watch Tucker Carlson's evening program like it was like a Looney Tunes and Cartoon Network. So this is just the way that they've approached this. So Tucker Carlson is on the line for being his, I guess, his approach for his legal defense in this. I'm surprised, he's not inspired by the things that happened on January 6th, but that's a separate issue. So also he's been linking himself to Tucker Carlson for years. So back in 2019, when this was still going on and that issues with this trial, Cantwell complained that the case was motivated by a desire to silence not only me and my associates, but anyone who might dare to agree with us on even peripheral issues. So this is evidenced by the President of the United States. This is him continuing to talk. This is evidenced by President of the United States and the second most popular show on cable news, Tucker Carlson, being branded as white nationalists on account of sharing a small number of our views on the pressing issues of our time. So Tucker Carlson agrees with the small number of issues that are the pressing moments of our time. Here's a video of Chris Cantwell and his buddies and their issues that apparently Tucker Carlson agrees with. Let's watch.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Blood and soil! 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 Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets! Whose streets? Our streets!
I didn't say it, Chris Cantwell said it. Jews will not replace us. Blood and soil. Whose streets? Our streets. White lives matter with tiki torches and surrounding and saying they're gonna kill people. I didn't say it.
Yeah.
Cantwell said it.
So Cantwell is the guy in the black t-shirt with the words radical agenda on it in that video. That video is never not enormously shocking. Like, I can't believe how many of them there were. They didn't have hoods on, and they were chanting in the streets of America, "The Jews will not replace us," carrying torches. It is unbelievable. And then Trump actually said there were good people on both sides. Good people on both sides of the Jews will not replace us and they will replace us? What insanity are you talking about? I've never seen anything more anti-Semitic in America, certainly in my lifetime. And Trump couldn't make up his mind, 50-50 on whether they're right or not. So gee, I wonder why they call Trump a white nationalist, partly because he supports you, okay? And by the way, so that's an old Nazi chant, "The Jews will not replace us." Blood and soil, I didn't even know what that was until Charlottesville, and then became educated on the fact that that was another Nazi slogan from Germany, that they would say blood and soil. and it was about the homeland and et cetera, that they use as an excuse to murder more people. And Tucker Carlson has said on several occasions on his show that immigrants will not replace us. Now, guys, his producers, the executives, I know because I worked at MSNBC, executives look at your script. And Tucker Carlson all saw the saying, the immigrants will not replace us. That is a clear Nazi reference. It's an awkward way of saying it, right? What do you mean, like the immigrants will not replace us? Why are they replacing us? That doesn't mean, like, okay, they're coming in addition and you don't want them to come. I'm not saying you can't have an anti-immigrant opinion. I think you're abhorrent that you have one, but it's okay, it's America, you're allowed to. But when you phrase it exactly like that, even after the Nazis marched in the streets and said the Jews will not replace us and brought that Nazi slogan back, that's why Chris Cantwell says, oh yeah, we all watch Tucker. Tucker's got our message. And so that's a fact. You could say, oh, well, that's not fair. Just because Tucker used the same slogans and the Nazis loved Tucker, that doesn't mean it's Tucker's fault. Okay, if that's what you think.
You know, I remember, JR, you were there, Politicon, when Cenk had that conversation with Tucker Carlson, and he made the reference of immigrants. He told the story about how he has these elaborate dinner parties and he lives in this exclusive community and he doesn't want just anybody to go to his dinner parties. And that's how he felt about immigrants, that he wanted to have a say in who came to the dinner parties. So I'm not surprised that he would say that the immigrants would not replace us, but which immigrants is he talking about? Because the last time I checked, you know, like we've been doing this thing now when we do events that we make sure we do land acknowledgements and that we acknowledge the First Nations people and the Native people, the indigenous people, and remember whose land we're on. Because it is amazing to me the way they use the word immigrant when they themselves are immigrants. But what I was gonna say is that I saw some of the people reacting to this man, and a lot of people kept talking about mental illness. And I just wanna make sure that we always hold people accountable for their behaviors and their hatred and not always attribute it to mental illness, because there are people who have mental illness that are fully functioning and living regular lives, doing everything that other people do, and they are not walking around dropping the N-word and fantasizing about hurting people of color, Black people in this country. I just think that was a very violent, and that video always feels shocking, and it always feels, as you said, it always feels volatile and violent. And standing from where I'm standing as a woman of color, a Latina woman, a brown person, a Black person in this country who are always painted by media as being violent, that is the epitome of violence and ugliness that you like to pin on people of color, and that was really gross.
It's one of the reasons that they do it, just so they can continue to fly under the radar. I think we talked about it last week. It's just always the way it goes. Hey, it's like, hey, look over that way, there's a squirrel, and then they're over there doing something right next to you, or they're blaming the people who are actually trying to stop them from being exactly what it is. So it disarms the people that are gonna call out what it is that you're doing, because you say it first, immediately after you do it. Now, if you're Tucker Carlson, and you're the #1 cable news host, and you have one of these known people know who Chris Cantwell is. They know he has a nickname because he was crying when he heard he was actually gonna get arrested for his crimes, that consequences were coming. So I would think it's hard to believe that Tucker Carlson doesn't know who this guy is, or doesn't know about the Unite the Right rally, or that they're saying they're gonna be replaced, as it's become a theme on his show to talk about the replacement theory. So I'm not sure how soon someone may ask him. Maybe there's a guest on his show that he debates with. They'd be like, so how do you feel about white nationalists and Nazis that are in prison saying that you are their inspiration? No one asks these guys this stuff. And if you do ask him, how is he gonna separate himself from it? Nobody else is accusing you of being this white nationalist that someone needs to throw in prison. The white nationalists are saying that you are their inspiration. It seems a little too easy and too direct to ask him something like this. But why doesn't it ever happen?
Well, he doesn't do that many interviews. Obviously, nobody at Fox News is going to hold him accountable. He's doing insane documentaries now about how January 6th was a deep state false flag operation, and that that we're taking right wingers into Guantanamo Bay. Just totally lies and insanity. But look, Tucker Carlson consistently talks about the white replacement theory, that whites are going to be replaced. Well, so that sounds crazy to the rest of us, and it's a racist idea that says we have to prevent non-whites from coming here because they're replacing the whites. Like, so by the way, it's okay if Europeans come here because then you're replacing whites with whites in their theory, and that's okay. How is that not avowedly racist, openly racist, when you say we want whites to come, we don't want non-whites to replace us, to quote unquote replace us? And again, nobody's replacing anyone. It's just an old Nazi slogan, literally, okay? It doesn't even make any sense other than to Nazis. So now, but I want to build on something that Ida said. It's because it's projection. Because what did racist right-wing white folks in this country do? Not all white folks, very specific, racist right-wing white folks in this country. They replaced the indigenous people. They killed them and then took their land and replaced them. So they're doing projection. They think, well, we murdered them and took their land. So, and then we enslaved others and then made sure they never had any rights. And we've been brutal and vicious and murderous of others, so we assume they'll do it to us. No, you idiots. We're not for injustice, we're for justice. We're not gonna treat white people differently if quote unquote we're in charge. We're not gonna make you drink Starbucks coffee. We're not gonna replace you. We're not weirdo murdering Nazis. Okay, so stop projecting your despicable hatred onto us. We don't want any piece of it. So anyone that's claiming, oh, Tucker Carlson, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, we think dirty minorities might replace white people, but I don't know why you would say that's racist. Yo, get out of here, man. Even the Nazis are like, yeah, Tucker. Okay, it's not subtle. It's not anywhere near subtle.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.